The way the mute groups work with the Surface, for starters, you need to understand that this board, unlike the old one, when you recall a scene or when you turn it back on and power it up, it comes back up with the board as it was. It doesn't come up with everything muted like the old one used to. In this case, I've recalled a scene that I used with Philip Owen, and some of the channels are muted and some of them are not. So the thing to understand first about the mute groups, which are here, is that if you touch all on, it mutes everything. The on refers to the muting, not to the whether the channel is active. So all on basically means that everything is dead. All the inputs and outputs are muted. Another thing about the all on is that it's non-destructive. So if I touch it again, it goes back to the way it was before, with some of the channels muted and some of the channels not muted. The all off works differently. It is destructive. If I touch all off, then all of the muting is off, meaning that every channel is live, every input and output is live right now. So that's important to remember, that that's destructive. Now, when it comes to creating custom groups, these buttons here with the numbers allow you to store unnamed mute groups. It's a little confusing. I may end up having to use labels. But to create one, you would want to start off first by pressing all off to make sure everything's muted so that you know what you're muting. And let's say I wanted to create a mute group just for channels 12 through 16. Then I would select those. You can see there's a little print here. It's probably hard to read. It says hold to store. So if I press down the 1 and then hold it until it turns on, then now mute group 1 will mute 12 to 16. And turning it all on and off turns those channels on and off. This is also non-destructive like all on was. So for example, if I had these channels down here muted and I choose group 1, well then it mutes those, and then turning it back off again remembers those as being muted. It's not destructive like all off is. It's important to remember that about hitting all off before creating a group, because you might have something muted in a different bank and not know it. Like if I press fader button B to get to banks 17 to 32, well, I might have these guys over here muted, but if I'm on bank A, it looks to me like nothing is muted now. So if you define new groups, you need to make sure that you know what you're defining. Another thing about the custom groups that's interesting and important is that they're not saved with the scenes, nor are they recalled with the scenes. So these things just kind of exist here in the memory on the mixer. So I think what I'm going to probably do with them is come up with a couple of standard, excuse me, a couple of standard mute groups that we all might use, and then we just won't change them. And I'll try to put some little, I probably don't have room to put labels here, so probably back on the wall behind the console here, I'll stick a little cheat sheet that says what the different mute groups are for. But one of the possible uses for it is to go over here into the mix masters and then just mute all of the wedges on stage. Not the in-ears, because I kind of don't care if sound is coming out of the in-ears or not. But I might just mute all those and then do this until mute group 1 now turns off all the wedges on stage. Another possible use for it, if we were very consistent about where we put our acoustic guitars and well, just the guitars in general, all the guitars, bass or acoustic or electric, just to kill all of those channels in case there's plugging or unplugging going on. That might be another use. Another use for the mute groups might be to mute the entire band so that when somebody gets up to speak, that they can be heard and the band can be silenced while they're doing stuff on stage and not making noise. But I'll set those up later.